Hi lovelies, welcome back, or if you're new here, you're very welcome also. I'm Linz. So we have another chitty chat for you today, lovelies. I've been requested to do this one, and it's more of a roundup of the health hell I've been through in nearly 6 years of everything kind of put into one video rather than having them scattered. So you just have, well, there's a couple of people that have been wondering what's been going on, so I will get in. These videos are a little bit hard for me to make. I'm not moaning or I'm not doing any type of self-pity, just I do suffer with PTSD, and just going over them all again can just bring stuff back. So I probably might miss bits out of this video. I'm not going to go into overly too much detail. I'm just going to give you little bits of what's happened since 2014, lovelies. So basically, this is how it kind of started. There's a separate video on this. Back in 2014, I bought myself a project trike. She was basically a complete heap, okay? And it had been my dream for a long time. As you know, if you've been here before, you'll know I'm a biker. I ride motorbikes, and we build bits and we do mechanics and we do stuff here. So I bought this, picked it up quite cheap, bought it to kind of completely strip it down, cut it up and rebuild it as a trike, more so for the engine I think that was in it than anything else. At the time it had absolutely zero suspension. I'd hit like a little pothole in the road. It set a jolt up through my body that had caused a cyst leak on my left ovary. That then, from being in the pain of that, led me to go to the hospital eventually. The full story's up on that. You'll find it in one of my health videos. Basically, that cyst leaking from that jolt I got on trike saved my life in the beginning, After having tests and stuff done for that, I was diagnosed with stage 3. Well, it was a T4, so it was verging on the stage of stage 3, bowel cancer just above the sigmoid colon. That was in November of 2014. I was kind of rushed off to one of the top specialists and stuff like that as soon as they found it, to have 1.5 foot of my bowel removed. My appendix and my left ovary had to go too, because they were surrounded by something called, I think they worded it as mucus, which had the possibility that it was going to turn cancerous. So anything in there, they had a good old route around. It was meant to be done keyhole. Unfortunately, when they got in and they were checking everything that was going on down below, there was other bits and pieces that had to be kind of removed, so I had to be kind of gutted like a fish down below. A bit like you'd see on some ladies if they've had a C-section type scar, only mine's just a little bit longer, maybe across the bottom, along with a load of other holes where they tried their best to go in keyhole first, but it didn't work. Surgery was complicated. It wasn't made aware to me before I had the surgery that there was a possibility of me being kind of cut open. It was kind of made aware that there was a possibility I might have to have a bag fitted, a stoma bag, but that didn't have to happen. So that was that. Then in February of 2015, I went in. I had a tiny little operation to insert. Now, if you can just see that there, that little thing, there's a little tube that goes down into, if I can get up and show you, I have an extremely large scar here, and I had this little port device fitted in here, port catcher or something like that it was known as, and that was just to get ready to have, I was going to be having 12 rounds of chemotherapy over a course of 6 months. So it was it was going to be every 2 weeks, but my veins and things like that don't take too well to being jabbed and stabbed. They're very weak, they burst themselves, they do weird stuff. So I was given about 2 weeks or so to heal from having that little device put in, or 3 weeks, something along them lines anyway. Then I started my course of chemotherapy, which, as I've already said, it was every 2 weeks. So I would go in on a Wednesday. I would be fitted, I would have like a little device a little attachment fitted into this port thing on my chest. I'd have bloods done first to be sent off to make sure, you know, everything was okay balance wise. Then I'd have 4 to 6 hours, depending, in the oncology unit of drip chemotherapy, and then I was given what was called a pump. That was attached in through this, and it, you know, they gave me a little bag thingy that it went into. I have a picture, I'll stick it up there, of I'll double up the picture so you can see where it was fitted onto my chest, and then you can see this little bottle of stuff. So I'll pop that up there. Okay, so come round 9 or so of chemotherapy, the side effects of it were getting quite severe, lovelies. More so the neuropathy side of it than anything else, and the brain fog was horrendous at the time. Brain fog, you know, as it's called, but we can all get brain fog at different times. Is where I still get it now, but that's to do with what's going on now. It's to do with where you can be trying to speak, there might be a word there, but you're trying to get it out, it won't come out, or you're in the middle of a sentence and everything just goes, and you're just kind of sitting there, what? But it can be brought on by chronic fatigue as well, them type of brain fog situations. But neuropathy, lovelies, is a very hard one to explain unless you've ever been through it. People with things like diabetes and stuff can get neuropathy, but basically, you know, it was in my feet, didn't, you know, obviously it isn't a nice thing to have, but once it started affecting my hands, I completely freaked out, because I need my hands for things like work, stuff like that, and it can get to the point where you get permanent nerve damage through it. So it was decided then they'd give me round 10 and they'd leave it at 10 rounds rather than give me the full 12. So that was that. In the middle of chemotherapy, I'd had a scan which had shown up a couple of masses on my liver which weren't there previous. There was a big panic. I got sent off to have like the the scan, basically where you get radiation treatment put through your body to see what's, you know, what's what. And thankfully it came back that it wasn't. They were originally classed as focal nodular hyperplasia something. Basically there was like, I think there's 3 of them in there. There's 2 anyway that are a problem at the moment, but they're basically like a cluster mass of blood vessel vein things and things like that, which was originally thought they were. So anyway, that was okay, you know. We're getting on now. We're getting on to, let me see, May of 2000, yeah, the 28th or the 29th of May 2016, I had a trike accident off that same trike. Now that trike, I'd completely restored, going through all my chemotherapy. Like, you know, obviously I had quite a few bad days after chemo and things like that where I was tired, I couldn't function, couldn't concentrate. Oh, just want to mention on this, there's a big stereotype with people that have chemotherapy, they lose all their hair. That isn't necessarily the case, okay? There is hundreds of different combinations of chemotherapy you have, like, and they all depend on what combination of drugs you're having in your chemotherapy, or jungle juice as I used to call it, and whether it's going to affect your hair. My hair did thin out, wasn't too bad, like it was very thick anyway to begin with, so you know, it was a bit of a blessing that it thinned out a little bit. My eyebrows got it more so, like I have them filled in at the minute. There is hairs there, but they're kind of more like a translucent type kind of hair. They never kind of came back their full colour. So that was the only thing I had in a way lasting, apart from neuropathy in my feet. That was a lasting effect as well. Now anyway, May 2016, off that trike that saved my life by alerting me to that, you know, leaking ovary. Then Lindsay tried to fly. Own fault, going too fast. Okay, I wasn't going over the speed limit, but I was coming into a corner too fast. So I know like the back of my hand, because it's literally only up the road from where I live, and I should have known better. I made a very split-second stupid mistake, and I should have known better from riding bikes and stuff like that. You know, since I was 15, basically. I'd hit the brakes. Now you don't lean a trike, not the one I had at the time anyway, because she didn't have independent suspension. You have to steer it, and just that split second of bad judgment by my part nearly killed me. I went through a bush, hit an ash tree here. The trike flew one way, 10-foot type drop type system. I flew a long way in the opposite direction. My left foot had got caught under a long gear selector I had, which we're thinking now is what happened. My whole femur shattered, going up into the hip joint. It was dark. Thankfully, the trike, even though she was upside down in a mess, I don't know, I never got to see her like that. I got the pictures afterwards. But she was lying upside down, but the lights were still on. I had a lot of LEDs and fancy little bits and pieces on her. But the next thing I remember is, thankfully, the lights had stayed on her, because it would give my partner a rough idea of where I was. Now, he'd been in front of me in the car, wherever we were coming back from, I'm not quite sure. So he knew once he got up onto the driveway that I wasn't there, something was wrong. So he came back down to look for me, and just managed, through dense hedge and everything like that, seen there's a bit of a skid mark on the road from my front wheel locking up, and yeah, I was down in the field basically. The next thing I kind of remember really is my partner and my dad there with me. I was in excruciating pain, and I mean, I have never ever felt anything like it in my life. I have been told the femur, because it's the strongest and longest bone in your body, is, you know, more painful than childbirth, but I wouldn't know that, and I'm not going to know that now. I have, you know, as I've already said, I've had one ovary removed, and the other one was basically half fried with the jungle juice chemotherapy. Yeah, so the next thing I know, there is some amazing sorry, I'm visualising things in my head, and that's what gets me. But anyway, I'm not moaning. Yeah, ambulance crew, all the, you know, services and stuff were there, fire brigade, a local branch from our Gardaí, which you know them in the UK as police. They were all absolutely amazing. Thankfully, they knew exactly what they were doing not to move me, because of the way the femur had shattered. Obviously, they couldn't tell that at the time. They just knew that my leg was facing somewhere over there, but my body was here. Okay, so they had to cut all my gear off and stuff like that. Anyway, sent off to hospital, blah, blah. If they'd have moved me in the wrong way, I was told that I would have bled out there and then in that field. Wouldn't have made it to hospital, would have been dead. Sent off, all this kind of stuff. I'll stick a couple of pictures and bits and pieces, quite graphic, up there. So, you know, if you're a bit squeamish or anything like that, maybe don't look. I'll keep popping a few bits and pieces up. Had to be from the A&E unit I was in, sent off to another specialist hospital to be fixed by a specialist that dealt with like the femur situation. As I said, it had shattered, and the x-ray will be up there now of what it originally looked like. I have quite small petite bones, so they had to use one from the child's sort of what they'd use in children basically, because, you know, and also another aspect of that, I can only have titanium inside my body. I can't have the surgical stainless steel like most people have, because I react to it. I can wear it on the outside, but anything inside, no, can't have it. I know that from something previous. But basically then, yep, I'd had all that done. I was in theatre. I bled out. Jump started, I think, and, you know, given a lot of blood, and for the next couple of days after surgery as well, I had to keep getting given blood. So if it hadn't have been for people donating blood, don't know where I would have been today, do you know, so a big thank you if you're anybody that does donate. Okay, December 2017, I had what was called a TIA. The wording on it's more scary, I think. Basically, I had like a minor type stroke. It's basically a clot got lodged somewhere. I don't really understand the whole medical side. But if you can see now, lovelies, the left side of my face just doesn't react as well as the right side does, because it was all down kind of this side. It wasn't a bad one at all. Wasn't a bad one. So my slurring of speech sometimes, and the fact that this eye is dropped down, the side of my mouth, hold on, I'm working on this, you know, the more tired I get, the more noticeable it is, but it doesn't, things don't react that way, that side. Okay, after that then I was suffering with extreme pain in my back and going down my left leg into my foot. I had radiating, and I mean severe pain, not knowing was it something to do with the bar that had been fitted, something that was going on kind of maybe in and around the hip joint that's causing the back problems, but it was radiating from my arse cheek, lovelies, down into my toes, and it was hell. Still can be when it plays up. I was basically on like a walking aid thing again. I'd already been in a wheelchair and had to learn to walk again after everything I'd had with the accident. There was a few more bits, injuries I had with the accident, but you know, another story, another day. So it got sent off eventually for an MRI. No, that was around 2018. 2017 the pain started really bad. 2018 I got sent for an MRI which showed that I had degenerative disc disease plus 2 quite large bulging discs that are sticking out. They're still in there waiting. I'm still waiting on surgery. In the lower part, L something and S something, I'm not really sure. Jointy thingies down in the bottom of your spine. But wasn't a candidate for anything like nerve blocks, anything like that. So, you know, it was a case of I was severely medicated for, a year and a half it took before that pain started to subside. As I said, still waiting on the surgery, which I should be having done by the end of this year, because I was meant to be in kind of the beginning of this year, but then obviously, you know, the shitstorm started with the virus and also surgeries were cancelled. But at the moment, lovelies, I'm not in spasm, right? I'm not, like I was in spasm for nearly a year and a half. It was hell. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't sit properly, I couldn't lie down properly. I was exhausted without being tranquilised, basically, with a load of pills. Was the only time, and at that then I was only maybe getting 3 to 4 hours, you know, not full sleep, and you know, it was hell. But it's subsided. I've learned kind of ways I can move, I can't move, all the rest of that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to that operation because I know it can go one way or another. Getting to the here and now, I've now been diagnosed with a lifelong condition. This year so far has been hell medically. Anyway, routine scans and stuff I was having done just, you know, to keep an eye on me from the original cancer. They noticed that the things they were keeping an eye on my liver had grown. Now, they're not known to grow. Okay, not known at all to grow. They just stay there, basically, normally stay the same size. So there was a bit of a panic over these, thinking they turned cancerous, and I got sent then for a liver biopsy about 2 months ago. I do apologise. Liver biopsy wasn't the easiest things. Very, very stressful. Obviously, I was having to go into a hospital with all the virus going on, and I know that I've no immune system to speak of. But anyway, let's get on. Yeah, I got the results of that, and they came back as basically, they're benign at the moment. I have to be monitored every 6 months, scans and blood tests, tumour markers, things like that now for the next, well, for the rest of my life, basically. So what I have now been diagnosed with is a lifelong condition that can possibly turn, slim chance, but possibly turn into something that I'm going to need more chemotherapy for in the future. Can turn cancerous, basically. Side effects that go with this is, now they were originally thinking that I might have had something called fibromyalgia, because I get things like random pains in my neck, under my arms, and this is to do with the lymph gland system in your body kind of playing up, along with the autoimmune blood disease thing I've just been diagnosed with too. My immune system's very low. My blood doesn't react the way normal people's blood does. So yeah, I'd been suffering with night sweats now, lovelies, and I just don't mean you get a little bit, and I mean literally I can get literally drenched in the middle of the night. Nobody knew what was causing this. They were putting it down to maybe hormones and things because of the fact I only had like half a working ovary or something along that lines. But it became quite, you know, more of a panic when they also realised that I've lost nearly 2 stone in just over 6 months without trying, you know. Loss of appetite, severe fatigue, where I get to a point where I get like a dizzy, low blood pressure type episode, and I have to go and lie down because otherwise I'm going to collapse. You know, it's a really weird feeling too, not like a normal tiredness. There's a lot of other stuff that goes with this. Things like low mood and things like that as well can be part of what I've just been diagnosed with. So, PTSD and depression. The depression's got a bit of a question mark on it now on whether it's just been this nasty illness that's been kind of lingering for a while. PTSD is very, very real, and I'm going to know about it after I finish filming this, if I even post this, to be honest. How do I get through the way I get through with the positivity? Right, if you've actually watched this whole video, you will know what I've been through in the last near 6 years. After you've been through such shit and nearly died a few times, and still going through such shit with your health, nothing else really touches you. You know, you start to see life in a completely new way. Things that would have bothered me 7 years ago, people being pricks basically, stuff like that, doesn't bother me anymore, you know, because at the end of the day I know how precious life is. I know how precious people are. I know how hard some people fight and battle behind what you see. I haven't got time for anybody that randomly moans about, you know, their life's hard because there's a family situation going on or any of that kind of thing. I haven't got time for people that all they want to do is talk about other people and dramatise everything, or overly dramatise their little issues. No, don't get me wrong, everybody has issues, and to everybody in their own right, they're big problems. But, you know, I've gone down to hell. I've slapped the devil on the arse and I went, not today, babe, I'll see you later. Okay. And he's quite gladly sent me back up because he knows once I go down there, I ain't going to run that show. So how do I get through? Basically just like that. I've seen the dark side of life. I've been to hell. I'm climbing back out of it again. I've got a constant lifelong battle now dealing with side effects, symptoms, all this kind of thing. And, you know, so I hope this kind of explains why I don't really give a shit about the petty bollocks. I don't give a shit about hate. I don't care about your opinion of me, because I know what I've been through. And, you know, when you can survive the amount of stuff I've survived, still keep smiling, still keep laughing, still keep making the odd wisecrack, you know, you still have a sense of humour. You're not constantly going on and on and on and on and on about something that nobody really cares about, because it's just something that most people deal with anyway, you know, then that's when, yeah, I hope you understand now why I don't really care about the haters. I don't really care about what other people, you know, who said this, she said that, the other one said the other. Go away with that, because I don't care. I've got more important things in my life, you know. So that's basically that, and I hope that's kind of answered quite a lot of questions. I'm not going off to do self-pity now. I'm not going off to mine. PTSD is basically where you relive something over and over again. I've suffered with a touch of PTSD due to something that happened in my earlier teenage years for a long time. You know, I have this amazing ability to put blocks up against things, to block out the negative, to block out the bullshit. And sometimes that works, and I'll never ever think of that subject or whatever again. And then other times, and especially when it's medical, when it's trauma related, the blocks can fall down, and then all of a sudden the nightmares will kick in. I could be sat doing something, doing a bit of jewellery making, or out in the workshop doing something, and I'll get just a flashback of something random, a trike accident, waking up in intensive care, you know, a couple of times, but and it will hit me like a ton of bricks. But I'm the type of person that you tell me something's going on, you know, medically with me, I will battle through that, like I'm walking through life. Yep, sort it out, deal with it, bring it on, whatever. Then after it's all over and done with, it could be a month, 2 months, a year down the line, all of a sudden PTSD kicks in, and I go, holy fuck, did I go through that? Wow. You know, and yeah, so that's where that is. So, you know, with my messages at the end of every video I do, like I'm about to do now, it's always just be kind to others, because you never know what's going on in their life. Don't moan over random stuff. You know, there's people out there, you know, in a lot worse situations than I am, for a start, you know. Haven't been as lucky as I've been. And yes, I do consider myself lucky. And I am damn proud of the person I am today. Damn proud that I've had the strength, I've had the humour, I've had the balls to go through and get through where I am, what I've done already. Do you know, it's it shocks me sometimes just to think back and go, wow, you know, you couldn't write this shit really, could you? Maybe I should, it might make a good book. But yeah, so please just stay kind, please. Think before you speak or you type, and make sure, lovelies, you take care of yourselves, especially mentally, because mentally is a big thing. Mental health can sometimes be harder to deal with than anything physical going on in your life, do you know? Because you can't, you know, alright, so you can take a few tablets to control it a little bit, or to ease the symptoms, which I'm actually reduced down to at the moment, so I'm quite happy on that. But you can't control something. You don't know how to deal with something's going on with your brain. Where if you've got a physical problem, you know, you go off to the doctor, or you go off to the surgeon and you get it fixed, or you know, you're actively doing something to help. But with depression, it's not that easy. Any type of mental health issues. So again, lovelies, you know, Chitty Chat's gone on a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I just needed to kind of cover for the couple of people that just wanted to know. And there's an email address down below now that is, you know, specifically for this channel. It's been up now a couple of weeks. It's probably not going to be me answering your emails, but I will get them back because I have somebody else now at the moment in charge of that side of things. Just checking up on them, and then, you know, if there's ones they think I need to read or anything like that, they'll let me know about them. But everything here is private and confidential. I can 100% guarantee you that. So anything you send to that email will stay private and confidential, unless it's nasty, and then it just goes off to the solicitor to deal with. So that's the way it works. Anyway, lovelies, again, take care of yourselves, stay kind, just keep safe, yeah? Bye for now.